Okay, you stood here for all this time, and yes, you've squirmed, and I've told you to stop moving multiple times, but your reward is going to be screaming in agony from forced orgasms, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it, quite
Yep.
frankly. Hello,
Hi, everyone.
Kayla Lords
John Brownstone.
of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. We're back with a story time.
Ooh, I like story time.
You know, I do too, and not just because it's fun to maybe sort of kind of remember things that my sad memory has like filed away in a dark, dank filing cabinet, and the memories are like the last file at the very back of the drawer, and it's the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. Yes, I describe my brain as being a bunch of filing cabinets. What? Anyway. They're also kind of fun to make because, one, it's a little bit down memory lane. Two, I'm a lazy video maker and editor. These are easier to make. A little inside baseball for you there. This week, we're going to talk about the first time we actually played with rope bondage. Not quite a scene, but kind of like went full in on you were like deep in your rope toppiness.
Yeah.
I was a willing rope bottom, if not an enthusiastic one. But to get to that, there's kind of a journey along the way.
Yes.
We did not start out in our dynamic or our kink play with rope,
No.
but bondage was there from almost the beginning of our physical contact. 'Cause if you don't know, we started out as a long distance relationship. There was no bondage involved there, other than the types of bondage are like
Mental
honor bondage and right, exactly. Honor bondage being you will do the thing I told you to do, or staying still. You would say don't move, and that was difficult.
You're squirmy.
I'm squirmy. I've always been squirmy. So we started early days with bondage being things like cuffs that hook by straps to like the end of the bed, or
Yeah, have D-rings and yeah.
right, or just things that hook to one another. I mean, we've
Right.
always played with a collar and cuffs when we
Yeah.
play, and those things always have D or O rings attached to them so that you can then attach me to other things. I am not a rope enthusiast, but I am a bondage enthusiast. I am a make me sit still, don't let me move, give me something to struggle against. Yes, please. Yes, please. But rope, I was always like, I'm sure I won't like it. It was never a hard limit. It was never
No.
I will never do this. It was I don't care. But rope is different for you.
Yes. Even before I met you, I found somebody on the interwebs. His name is Fred Kyrell, and he actually, not so much for bondage, but his rope work was very artistic. Very artistic. He actually did a lot of what people now would call rope wear, rope dresses, rope outfits, different things like that, but very beautiful work. And I followed him so intently. I came across him way back in the day on Tumblr.
Okay.
Okay, a few of his pictures. Found out who he was from there, and that kind of led into my love of rope.
When did you first start practicing rope bondage, learning about it?
Probably just before we met.
Okay, because I remember the few times you would practice ties, maybe on my hand or wrist. You wanted to play a little bit, not play as in a scene, but kind of like touch the rope a little bit. I remember feeling like you were not a novice, like it wasn't like, well, how do the two ends of the rope go together? But
Yeah.
sort of you weren't even as confident as you are now.
A stuttering beginner.
Yes, like you had some basic concepts, but you needed a body part. And at that
Right.
time, I'm not sure if it's that you weren't aware or it wasn't working for you, but self-tie was not a thing for you.
I really was not kind of aware of self-tie at that point in time. And when I did become aware of self-tie, I did try a few things on me, and I did do a few things here and there. Folks, I am not limber. I am not a limber man, never have been. Even in my younger days, I was not limber. Oh, yeah, I can do like a simple chest harness kind of thing on myself. With some great difficulty, I've done a photomomo
Okay.
on my leg, which is a form of leg tie.
Oh, okay.
You look like it.
Yeah, I went deer in headlights there for a minute.
I've actually done a few of those ties with you.
Sure, and we'll get into why I've come around to being a willing victim.
Yeah.
But now I don't know any words.
Self tie for me is not a...
Right. So until you, even understood it as a concept and could try it to see if it was for you, it was sort of a, yes, we play with bondage, but not with rope. And when you wanted to play with rope, it was limited. So you would try a tie on my hand and tie me to the bed. And
a single column tie on the wrist and ankles to tie you to the bed, yes.
See the words. And actually, that was the moment I went, hey, wait, we could do more with rope, because what it did was you tied me up, you tied me to the bed the way I like, and I could pull against it, and I got that very bondagey feeling.
That restricted feeling.
Yes. Oh, yes. Pin me down, please and thank you. I love it. We did a really simple one with forced orgasm that was a quick tie, like with rope around my waist to hold the Hitachi in place.
Yes.
I never considered that a rope bondage scene, because the point was the forced orgasm, because you basically stood back and laughed evilly as I thrashed on the bed and could not get away from the Hitachi.
Right.
But it wasn't about the rope so much. There wasn't, there was bondage, but it just wasn't part of it. It was something else. And then that led, from my memory and my recollection, that led to conversations with you, because you were starting to pull out rope in smaller ways. And every time you wanted to ask me to participate, you almost asked apologetically, like, I know this isn't for you, but I really want to practice this tie. Do you mind? And I hated you feeling like that. I understood that we each had our own limits and there were things that maybe we wouldn't want to do. But also, this wasn't something I hated the idea of. I was ambivalent. I didn't care.
Well, think about this, folks. It's one of those things. We have the quintessential baby girl right here.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Most times.
That may
More
be
times
true.
More times than not.
If you squint your eyes.
Yeah. and one of the things about this little baby girl right here, she squirms.
I do squirm. I do it sitting here trying to record video.
You are always in motion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just true in general.
Yeah. She is ambivalent about rope. She will partake in it, but, it's not her favorite thing. So she gets squirming.
And you realized that very quickly, even in those simple ties you were doing. Because I was like, twitchy. Like, there should be movement. Which is funny, because I love being restrained.
And I think that's the difference. See, some of the things I do, I like to do a little bit more artistic work, rope work that is, for backdoor terms, pleasing for the eyes. And when the rope work consists of a single column tie on your wrists and ankles and restraint to the bed, that's a different thing for you.
It serves a purpose in my mind. And also, you have stopped me squirming in a delightful way, usually.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you just, tied me to the bed and left me there and walked away and there was nothing else, I mean, I'm sorry that I just gave a sadist an idea. I tend to regret my actions after I have done that. So there you go, freebie idea for you. But if that's what you did and then walked away, I would be miserable. I would hate it. But when you tie me to something, or tie me down, or strap me down, or hook me to something, and you limit my mobility and my squirminess as a control thing that's going to be paired with some kind of pleasure, I'm freaking delighted. It's amazing. So yeah, if you just single tied blah blah on wrist to bed and walked away, I'd be like, what the hell is going on here? This is misery. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one as a freebie. So yeah, we started small with those things. Single tie, simple tie with the Hitachi, but it never felt like a rope bondage moment. And like I said, I was feeling guilty that every time you asked me, it was sort of in this apologetic way, like, I know this isn't your first love, but I could use some help. I need a body part. Do you mind? And that actually, me feeling bad about it and you being willing to ask for those small things, led us around to a conversation about wait, but you enjoy this, and how do I help you get more of this? And so we talked about, okay, maybe we should do something simple. Would I be willing to try? And I was like, I was always willing to try. I just don't care. And then you did the best thing you could have done, which is you showed me pretty rope. I believe the first full like scene where you did your more decorative ties that you like was in this really pretty blue rope that we still have.
Yes.
It's very soft. It was just a bright color. Was it my preferred purples and pinks and turquoises and mermaid colors? No, but it was still pretty. And I mean, should I feel bad that what got me was the aesthetic? No, I don't think so. I think we come into experiences and being willing to try new things at whatever point we do. And for me, it was soft, colorful rope. And also, I wanted to make my daddy happy. And you never did it in a manipulative way, like I felt bad in that you were making me feel bad. It was that I knew this was a thing you loved, but you weren't asking to do these scenes because I was so ambivalent. I've always felt like you got the message unintentionally that I just wouldn't do it.
No, I never got that. The blue rope, and then I also had some black and white rope.
Which is not my favorite. It's not as cute.
Yeah, I know. It's not as cute. Yeah. The black and white rope I actually got at the Phoenix Club.
A BDSM club in Tampa Bay. Yeah.
And the other rope, the blue rope that you're talking about, I got from a company at that time called Rainbow Rope.
Oh, okay.
They're no longer in existence. At that time there were not that many places to get rope like there is now.
So many places to
now,
buy rope
so many
online.
choices, so many, yeah.
And here's the thing: if you want to get my attention with rope, you can't tell me about how long I'm going to have to stand there or how complicated the tie is, and don't give me terms about the tie you're doing. I don't care. Show me how pretty the rope is, and tell me I'll be pinned down when we're done. Now that I've had this first experience that we have taken our sweet time getting to, I have other reasons to be willing to do it. So here's what I remember. Again, crusty, dusty memory. It's at the back file of a bottom drawer of the file cabinet. Hasn't seen light of day for a while. Here's what I remember. I remember us standing in our bedroom. I don't even remember which place we were living at the point. At that point,
that was in
was it
in the Panhandle.
Were we okay? I thought
Yeah.
it was later. Okay,
No.
okay. So that was when we were visiting as long distance, but it was not early on. It was
It was
like our fourth or fifth.
It was much
visit.
later. It was closer to the time that we were getting ready
to move. We had already started
Yeah.
talking about how we were gonna kind of come together as a in-person, full-time, 24/7 live together thing. So there was definitely a lot of trust there. What I remember is standing there, and was I naked, or did I at least still have underwear on? Panties.
I think you still had panties on.
Okay. So I remember standing there and you very slowly moving the rope. And I think you started out trying to explain to me what you were doing. And I was like, I don't care. And I was immediately squirmy. I legit tried to stand still. I did try. It lasted all of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. And you have great ways of getting me to like be still and listen. And sometimes it's your voice and sometimes it's a little pinch or a smack or whatever. And you were sort of doing those things, but you were also trying to concentrate on the rope.
Yeah.
And from the first time rope went around like at more than once and you pulled and I felt the squeeze, I went, oh, well, this is pleasant, because what it did was it took that restraining thing, and instead of making it outward of me pulling against something, it was restraining my body in a squeezy hug-like way.
Yes.
And the moment I felt the hug, I kind of calmed down. I was slightly less squirmy. And I kind of got where I could feel pleasure out of it. I don't know how other rope bottoms feel. I don't know much about what draws them to it. Everybody has their own experiences. I don't read much about that. I don't listen much about that, because I am still to this day very ambivalent about rope bondage and ties. But when I'm in the moment, what I know is I love that squeezy feeling. It feels like a hug.
And see, that's something that I've heard a number of people say, that being in rope, it's like a body hug.
Yeah, there's some compression to it that
Yeah.
I tend to get claustrophobic kind of easy. If I feel like too much is pressing in on me, too many bodies, too small of a space, I can panic. But rope, there was enough space between the rope itself, what you were doing, that I don't have that claustrophobic feeling. The next thing I realized about why this was not the worst idea ever, and it was the first time we'd had this experience, and while we don't do rope a lot, you continue to make sure it's part of it. I am convinced that you made sure the rope and your fingers skimmed and flowed across the most sensitive bits of my body. I was
absolutely.
like, oh,
Absolutely.
we're going erotic here. Okay.
See, that's something that, to me, as a rope top, when I'm tying, it's something that's very intimate. And there is you can make a strong connection.
Absolutely. We were definitely connecting. We weren't talking much. You were concentrating on your ties, and I was learning to maybe hold the rope here until you could get around and, spread my feet a little bit, or, manipulate my body with you and working together. But when you were kind of in your flow and you were just moving the rope, it was whatever sensitive, soft skin bit, it was rope and finger. And the rope was soft, which I appreciated. And then your touch was very gentle, and I was like, oh yes, we can do this more often. This I'm here
and see,
for.
that's something to me that, when doing the rope, I don't want to just pull the rope and sling it around. No, I want to create that sensation with the rope slowly coming across the skin, the hand grazing.
It's hot in
As
here. I think it's hot in here.
And I think that's all part of the connection of rope.
Yeah, when you're doing, unless you're practicing a tie, maybe you saw online, you're like, I just want to practice this tie, which I am a willing victim for that as well. It is not a utilitarian use of movement. You're not trying to be the most efficient. It's sensation play as much as it's bondage.
Right.
And that drew me in as well, because I was like, this is delightful. I felt closer to you. I was physically close to you because you had to be in my personal space to do the ties. Sure. And then I felt an intimate connection with you, because even though we weren't really speaking and there wasn't direct interaction in a dirty talk way, in a dom sub way, it was very much you were in your mode as rope top, and I was the clueless bottom who was like, sure, where should my arm go? I still felt that intimate connection with you. And that, again, fed on the, wait, maybe I'm less ambivalent to this than I realized. I am still ambivalent, meaning I can go weeks or months and not think about rope at all. It's just not something that comes to the forefront of my mind. But if given the opportunity to stand and let you tie me, or my favorite, you do this a lot now, you're like, you can lay on the bed and be still. Here's your phone. Distract yourself, as if I am a child, and I am, and it's fine. Just let me work on the tie. Like, I like those too. Those are less about the intimate connection thing, and there's no sensuality to them. It is utilitarian. It is like efficiency of motion. But I'm cool, because you've kept me distracted, like the toddler that I clearly am. And I'm not squirming, and I get a pretty tie, rope marks, and a picture out of it. That's like... But when you're like, actually, no, I want to do a full body thing, or, hey, can you come in here and can you stand here for me? And, I don't care about the rope so much, but I do care about the experience with you. And it goes back to that first time. That first time was deep and meaningful, and yet we didn't really talk about it, and we didn't have like a lot of verbal interaction.
And it was a very it was a very basic pentagram chest harness.
It's still my favorite. It did work down. I mean, we did have a scene by the time we were done, because you worked it down into that waist harness
later on,
and then reattached the Hitachi. Like, it was the Hitachi thing from weeks or months before that had been really simple and didn't feel like rope bondage to me, to, okay, you stood here for all this time, and yes, you've squirmed, and I've told you to stop moving multiple times, but your reward is going to be screaming in agony from forced orgasms, and I'm here for it, quite frankly. Yes, please. That seems like the perfect reward for standing still and letting you play with pretty rope.
Right.
I don't have clear memories of the ties. I remember things like, should I hold this here, or do you need me to lift up? I also have very clear memories of, baby girl, stop squirming. Baby girl, stand still. Baby girl, baby girl.
And that hasn't changed.
No, that hasn't changed.
That's still a thing. Still a thing.
When you think back to that first time, though, what do you remember?
I remember most, for me at that time, about the connection between us. You know, that to me was something that made a lasting impression on me. You know, how deeply we were becoming connected.
Yes, to the point that we could have a mutual experience that we both understood, I think, later, maybe even at the time, that we were experiencing this together and having very similar emotions and feelings. And we didn't really talk other than the stuff you needed to say, like, stop squirming, lift your arm, you know, turn around. But it wasn't like we were in this deep romantic moment of, oh, I love you so much. No,
Yeah,
I
no,
love
no,
you so
no.
much. We were just side by side together having this moment that we each recognized as, I think, just deeply intimate.
Yeah.
But also it ended with screaming orgasms. And quite frankly, I'm of the mind that if any scene will end that way, then it's been a good damn scene. I don't care what you did leading up to it. Since then, and you're currently in a phase, I think, where you're more involved in learning rope communities online.
Yeah.
You go through phases, though, where there
I
will
do.
be months where you kind of don't, and then you'll get back into it. I don't remember which phase this was, but there was a phase within the past few years where you came to me and said, you know, I really want to do more with rope. I'm feeling kind of bad that I haven't done more. And I was like, how can I help? You know, no, this isn't something we do regularly. Part of it's a time thing. It takes time to stop out of your evening or day for me to get undressed and for you to start tying rope. And so little things came up, like you would have me sit on the bed and you'd do like a leg tie and I'd be like, am I going to get a picture? Is the rope pretty?
Yeah.
And then my favorite, I do love marks. I love rope marks.
Yeah.
But I remember one of those phases, I was like, wait, why don't you buy yourself some more rope? Why don't we do more things? And I think that led into this current place that you're in where you're a little bit more invested. You're doing more things. You own a mannequin now.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's funny. There's a part of me that's like, please have a mannequin to just randomly go practice a tie on. I can be doing something else. It doesn't matter. And then there's that part of me that's like, but wait, yes, I complain. Yes, I'm squirmy. Yes, I need to be distracted like a toddler. But also, hello, I'm right here. And I'm sure that's not really a great way to sell myself as your rope bottom. All of these awful things, but wait, I'm right here. Why can't you do the tie on me? Which I say all that to say it's one of the many things we don't do often enough together. Right. And I think that part of it is because we get in our heads about what it means. I think we forget too easily that there is an intimacy and a sensuality and a level of connection from that moment that for me personally is not about the outcome, even if it's going to end in screaming orgasms. I like the look of the rope when you're done. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty. But that's where I'm most ambivalent. It's the squeezy feel of the constriction of the rope. It's the way your fingers graze on my skin. It's the fact that you have to get super close, and sometimes I can feel your breath on my skin, and that is another sensation. And quite frankly, you could just be like wrapping around me like I'm a damn mummy. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't care. Whatever you want to do. But the aesthetic of it is pleasing, and if it's going to be a pretty colored rope or a cool knot or a Hitachi at the end, you know, I'm just putting it out there that I'm here for it.
Putting it out to the world, yeah.
I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. Yeah. What I like about the few times that it's been a while since we've done anything with rope bondage together, especially since somebody got the mannequin, is it feels like on some levels a low energy kind of play. It takes mental energy, of course.
It is and it isn't, yeah.
And if I'm doing a standing position, there is stamina involved, and I have to physically be able to stand. But it doesn't feel like it takes, maybe it's me as the rope bottom who is quite ambivalent, it doesn't take as much out of me or leave me as wrung out as an intense impact play scene. And sometimes there's something nice about that. It's like, oh yes, I have the mental energy for this at the end of a long day. Whereas, do I have the mental energy for you to come at me with 85 paddles and 45 floggers for an hour while also having to stay quiet because we're parents? That feels like more energy. It's probably the equivalent, and there's probably not much difference, but the perception is like, we could do rope stuff more often. I'll squirm the whole time, though.
You will.
Do you appreciate having the mannequin because it can't squirm?
Yes.
doesn't my squirmy baby girlness add something, a little je ne sais quoi
It does.
to your aggravation? Yeah.
Frustration.
But also, your mannequin is not shivering and making little cooing noises when you skim a spot. It doesn't even have a spot to skim.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
I'm not jealous of the mannequin. I'm grateful for the mannequin, but also just in sitting down and talking about that first experience, I'm like, wait, I'm missing out on something that the mannequin is. It's an inanimate object. Can't even care about. So I guess, one, I've already given you a sadistic idea for this video, and I will then do what I've done recently every time we talk about kinky play. Remind you that I'm not that ambivalent.
Okay.
I'm less, when I think about it and I remember those moments, I become less ambivalent.
Okay.
And also, if you need an excuse to buy more rope, I'm here for that.
Fine.
It just has to be pretty.
Of course.
Okay.
All right.
That's us on our long meandering story into our first rope bondage scene, and hopefully an example of how you can be kind of meh about a partner's kinks and still find things to enjoy about it if you decide to try it. And also a look at our musty dusty memories and what do we remember. And you know what, I'll say this because my memory is not what it once was. I remember how things made me feel, and I remember sensations, and I don't remember what our negotiation was like and how we sat down and went, okay, we'll do this thing. And I don't remember what I was wearing. I don't remember what day of the week it was, but I always remember how I felt and how we felt together, or how you made me feel, or the sensations. That's what I remember.
Okay.
And ultimately, that's all I need to remember to know if I want to do it again. And also, this is confirmation that, yes, I'm a squirmy, wiggly baby girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think anybody who can see the video knows that. I'm perpetually in motion on some small level. But that is it for us this time. We have talked many times about bondage. It is one of your top kinks. So I will link down below in the description box to all the times we've talked about bondage if you're curious or interested, including some places where we've shared some rope we like and some products we've tried. And if you're not into rope but you like the idea of restraint, I'll link to that stuff too, because that continues to be my favorite thing, because that's a power and control play more than anything. And yes, please. That's it for us. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And once you subscribe, ring that notification bell to get updates and new content.
Sure, just do what Daddy says. And if you really enjoy this and want to help us keep doing it and get extra content and perks you can't get anywhere else, so please consider joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/KaylaLords. Bye.